Welcome, friend. I'm James, your host, and today, we're diving into another captivating episode. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and get ready for a powerful story that's sure to resonate. If something hits home, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in. Tofu by sleeping with a married woman in Los Angeles. So, gather around, folks. This is a wild ride, and I'm probably not going to survive this one. NSFW, obviously. Picture this, a dimly lit dive bar in the heart of Los Angeles, where the flickering neon lights battle against the shadows, and the air is thick with laughter, cigarette smoke, and the faint sound of an old jukebox. It was one of those nights where I was just trying to unwind, nursing a whiskey while half-heartedly watching the Hall of Fame game on the flickering screen. My phone buzzed with memes and texts, but my eyes kept drifting to the crowd, captivated by the eclectic mix of characters who filled the space. Among the barflies and casual drinkers, I couldn't help but feel a little out of place, caught in the monotony of my routine. That's when I saw her. She was breathtaking, long, wavy hair cascading down her back, tattoos peeking out from her sundress, and an infectious smile that lit up the room. Her energy radiated confidence and playfulness, an intoxicating combination that had me both intrigued and terrified. I couldn't believe someone like her was sitting next to me, a regular dude just trying to enjoy his evening. My heart raced when she turned to me and said, "Hey, can I trust you to watch my things while I go pee and not drug me?" I blinked, the absurdity of her request hitting me like a jolt of espresso. What?" I asked, trying to catch up with her playful yet somewhat serious vibe. The audacity of the question caught me off guard, but instead of backing away, I felt a thrill run through me. Maybe this was a game she liked to play, flirting on the edge of danger. "Just watch my stuff while I'm gone," she chuckled, but her eyes sparkled with mischief, hinting at a depth I couldn't quite read. The bartender chimed in, trying to play matchmaker and bolster my ego. "Oh, you can trust Greg. He's really nice." This should have been a red flag, but instead, it ignited my curiosity and intrigue. The way she laughed and bantered made my heart skip a beat. I couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline at the thought that someone like her could be interested in me, and the thrill of the unknown beckoned. As she walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a moment I'd never forget. When she returned, we instantly fell into an easy rhythm, exchanging playful banter and sharing stories about our dogs as if we were long-lost friends. The way she animatedly described her pet's antics made me laugh, and I shared my own embarrassing dog stories, reveling in the connection we were forging. She had this magnetic charm that pulled me in deeper with every passing moment. I felt like I was in a rom-com, reveling in the thrill of the chase. Her laughter was like music, and every time she leaned closer, I could feel the magnetic pull drawing us together. I mentioned I hadn't seen the HBO show years and years, but had seen the band perform live. Her enthusiasm was infectious as she insisted I had to watch it, and before I knew it, I was downloading the app on my phone, all while internally debating how I could turn this conversation into something more intimate. With every smile and every touch, I could feel my resolve weakening. It was clear we were dancing around something much deeper. Then came the moment that changed everything. "So, do you live close by?" she asked, leaning in slightly, her eyes locking onto mine with a burning intensity that made my pulse quicken. The warmth of her body sent a rush of adrenaline through me, and I could see the excitement reflected in her gaze. It felt like the universe had narrowed down to just the two of us in that crowded bar, and everything else faded into the background. "Yeah, just half a mile away," I said, my heart racing at the thought of what might happen next. Every part of me was screaming to take the plunge, to follow where this intoxicating moment might lead. "Well, we should go watch the show together." "I have a bottle of whiskey in my car," she proposed, her voice dripping with flirtation, and I felt like I had just been thrown into a whirlwind romance. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of the situation. My place is a bit of a mess," I stammered, suddenly feeling self-conscious about the chaos that awaited us at my apartment. The image of my unkempt living room flashed in my mind, dog hair everywhere, dishes piled high in the sink, and a mountain of laundry waiting to be folded. I cursed my disorganization, feeling a bit foolish, but the allure of this encounter clouded my judgment. There was a chance to turn my boring night into something memorable, and I was willing to risk it. "That's okay. I have pets too," she shot back with a laugh, her confidence radiating and drawing me in further. All I could think was that this girl wanted to get down to business, and my heart surged with a mix of excitement and dread. My instincts were screaming danger, but my libido was in full control, and I couldn't resist the pull. "All right, let's do this," I said, feeling both excited and terrified as we stepped out of the bar, the warm LA night wrapping around us like a comforting blanket. The streetlights cast a golden glow over the pavement, illuminating the path to my apartment. Her car was a slick little stick shift, and when I saw her effortlessly shifting gears, my attraction deepened. "No way! I love that you drive a stick," I exclaimed, genuinely impressed. "No one drives those anymore. Right? It's like a lost art," she grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. I felt a surge of exhilaration, my heart racing as I reveled in the chemistry between us. In my mind, I was thinking, this girl is hot, she's cool, and I'm about to have the best night of my life. With every mile, my anticipation grew, and the thrill of the unknown seemed to promise something extraordinary. The drive to my place felt like a thrilling roller coaster ride, my heart pounding in anticipation. I could feel the tension crackling in the air between us, and I was acutely aware of every laugh, every glance, and every smile. When we arrived, I fumbled to tidy up while she played with my dog, her laughter filling the room and drowning out my anxiety. I was in a daze, buzzing from the whiskey and her undeniable charm. Everything seemed to align perfectly until she ran outside to grab the whiskey. My heart sank a bit as she returned, the familiar bottle of Evan Williams in her hand. A sudden thought crossed my mind, oh no, this is where it all goes south. I tried to shake off the feeling, but an unease settled in my gut, hinting that I might be crossing a line I wouldn't be able to uncross. We started drinking and chatting, the atmosphere thickening with tension as we both reveled in the excitement of the moment. The whiskey flowed freely, and with every sip, my inhibitions slipped away. The initial butterflies of nervousness transformed into a confidence I hadn't felt in ages. Before I knew it, the atmosphere became charged with unspoken promises. But before I could even process the show we were supposed to watch, she was tugging my hand, leading me to the bedroom with an urgency that left me breathless. What followed was a passionate whirlwind that left me questioning everything. I couldn't even recall what the show was about. All I could think about was her, the heat of her skin against mine, the intoxicating mix of pleasure and adrenaline coursing through my veins. Our bodies moved in sync, a primal dance fueled by desire and a hint of recklessness. Each touch sent shivers down my spine, and I felt like I was soaring through the night, lost in a haze of ecstasy. Afterward, we lay together, basking in the afterglow, the room filled with the scent of whiskey and sweat, and I felt a strange mixture of triumph and anxiety. She looked at me, her eyes bright, and I was still riding high on the thrill of the night. "Can I stay the night?" she asked, her voice soft and inviting. And I could see the vulnerability behind her playful facade. "Of course. But I have to be up early for work," I replied, still under the spell of the evening's escapades. "That's okay. I can only stay for a little while anyway," she said, her fingers tracing patterns on my chest, and I felt myself getting lost in her gaze. The comfort of her presence made me forget about the consequences, about the world outside my apartment. I was in my own little fantasy, intoxicated by the moment and the woman beside me. Everything felt perfect until I said, "That was great. We should definitely do this again sometime." Her smile faded, and my heart dropped into my stomach. "I don't think so." "What? Why not?" I asked, my stomach churning as I sensed a shift in the air. "My husband wouldn't appreciate that." Time stopped. My heart raced, a cold chill spreading through me. "Wait, what? You're married?" "I'm in the process of separating," she said, shrugging as if it was no big deal. "But you're still married," I replied, my voice rising slightly, a mix of disbelief and panic settling in. I felt the ground shifting beneath me as I struggled to comprehend the reality of what I had just done. "Yeah, but that's okay," she insisted, the casualness of her tone clashing with the gravity of her words. "How is that okay?" I pressed, trying to wrap my mind around her dismissive attitude. The gravity of the situation began to sink in, and a sense of foreboding crept into my thoughts. "He's been abusive," she admitted, and suddenly, everything shifted. My heart ached for her. I had experienced emotional turmoil in my own relationships, and hearing her mention abuse struck a chord deep within me. But this revelation sent my mind reeling. How had I gotten involved with a married woman? I was no homewrecker, but here I was, wrapped in the sheets with someone whose life was entangled in chaos. The thrill of the night began to fade, replaced by a creeping sense of dread. Then it happened. She broke down, tears streaming down her face, her vulnerability crashing over me like a wave. I felt a deep instinct to comfort her, but my instincts were also screaming that I needed to be careful. "Whoa, hold on. Let's just take a breath," I said, trying to remain calm while my brain was screaming at me to get out. It was as if the air had thickened with tension, and the euphoric night had taken a dark turn. "Get my medicine from my purse," she demanded, her eyes wild, and I found myself jumping up to comply. I wasn't sure what kind of medicine she needed, but I had a feeling it was something to help calm her nerves. As I rummaged through her purse, I felt the weight of the situation crash down on me. Who was this woman really? One moment we were flirting and connecting, and the next, she was a tornado of chaos. I handed her the pills, and slowly, her manic energy began to ebb. But just as I thought we might be able to breathe, she started tearing through my living room like a whirlwind, ripping down posters and knocking over lamps, her body still naked and exposed. I was stunned, standing there like an idiot as my heart raced. The juxtaposition of the sweet intimacy we shared moments before and her current unraveling was surreal. It felt like I was caught in a storm, watching helplessly as everything I thought I understood about our connection disintegrated before my eyes. "What the hell is happening?" I muttered to myself, panic rising as she flung my things around, chaos overtaking my once cozy apartment. "This isn't what I signed up for," I thought, desperately wishing I could rewind time. I had opened my door to an adventure, not to a nightmare. "Calm down, let's just talk," I said, desperately trying to defuse the situation. "No. I need to go," she cried, her voice shaking, the rawness of her emotions palpable. The sobs racked her body, and all I could do was stand there, feeling utterly helpless. My heart ached for her, but I was also terrified of what this situation could mean for me. The clock ticked loudly in my mind, and with each second, my anxiety grew. After what felt like an eternity, she finally took the medication, and I noticed a gradual shift. She began to calm down, though her eyes were still filled with turmoil and uncertainty. It was around 2 a.m., and I just wanted to get some rest. "Let's just sleep, okay?" "I need to work in the morning," I suggested, trying to reclaim some normalcy in the chaos. Finally, we passed out, but the peace was short-lived. At 4 a.m., she woke me up, wide-eyed and demanding round 3. Who was I to deny a naked woman in my bed? So, with a mix of disbelief and desire, we went at it again. It felt almost surreal, like a bizarre sequel to the earlier events. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was playing with fire. But then, reality hit hard as I realized I had to leave for work. As I stood up, the gravity of the situation loomed over me. Her car was blocking mine. "You need to move yours," I said, frustration creeping into my voice. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, torn between concern for her and the urgency of my responsibilities. But she panicked, claiming she didn't know where her clothes were, and my patience began to wear thin. "I drive a stick every day. I can move it," I told her, exasperated. With the tension rising and my anxiety peaking, I felt a sense of urgency to get her out of my life, but I couldn't leave her alone in this state. I finally managed to move her car, But as I did, I couldn't shake the feeling that this night had spiraled completely out of control. Hours into my shift, I noticed she had stopped responding to my texts. My heart raced with concern, and the worry gnawed at me. I had let myself get tangled in a web of chaos, and now I was left wondering if I had done the right thing by letting her stay. As I started to sober up, the gravity of the night's events hit me. I thought about finding her husband on Facebook to let him know what had happened. But just then, I noticed a horrifying realization: she had already messaged him from my Facebook account. Panic surged through me like ice water. I rushed home, praying that nothing crazy had happened while I was gone. When I walked through the door, my heart sank. She was still in my bed, looking more fragile than ever. Her hair was a mess, and there were remnants of tears on her cheeks. The sight tugged at my heartstrings, but I also felt an overwhelming wave of anxiety. I knew I had to help her, but I didn't know how to untangle myself from this mess. "Hey, I think you should call someone to come get you," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. But she just shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, just help me," she whimpered, and I felt my resolve crumble. How had I gotten myself into this? My mind raced with thoughts of her husband, and the implications of this entire situation felt like a noose tightening around my neck. "Okay, we need to figure this out." "You can't stay here," I insisted, trying to regain some control. I glanced at my phone, half expecting a barrage of messages from her husband, and it hit me: I had to protect myself. I could feel the weight of the situation crashing down on me, and every moment that passed felt like another layer of complication being added to this already chaotic night. As the tension thickened, I realized that the gravity of this situation was not just about us. It was about her life, her choices, and the consequences that loomed like storm clouds overhead. I felt a pang of responsibility. I had invited her into my home, and I wanted to help, but I also needed to protect myself. In a moment of desperation, I called her friend for an Uber, wanting to extricate myself from this tangled mess. "Just get dressed and we'll figure this out," I urged her, but she hesitated. "I can't go home like this. He'll kill me." Her voice was filled with panic, and I could feel my heart racing. After a moment of indecision, she finally handed me a 20, asking for pizza, and after we ate, she insisted on one last round before heading out. I was shocked, but I obliged, the mixture of fear and desire pulling me in different directions. Once again, I found myself on the couch, her pushing my boundaries, telling me to make it quick. I was conflicted, the chaos of the night swirling in my mind. Afterward, we both fell back onto the couch, panting, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of triumph and guilt. What had I done? As we sat there, I noticed her phone buzzing incessantly. The screen lit up with notifications, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I leaned over and glanced at her phone, and my heart sank as I saw a flurry of messages. "I'm so sorry, babe. I didn't mean to upset you. Please, come get me." Her eyes widened as she read the messages, panic washing over her again. "What do I do?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "First, you need to put some clothes on. You can't get in an Uber like this," I insisted, feeling the pressure mount. But she shook her head defiantly. "No, I can't. He'll find me." My mind raced with thoughts of how to handle this situation. I gathered her belongings, desperately trying to help her get dressed, but it was like trying to wrangle a wild animal. Finally, I managed to convince her to slip on her shirt, but she still refused to wear pants. "You can't go outside like that. Just put them on," I pleaded, but my words fell on deaf ears. At last, the pizza arrived, and I stepped outside to sign for it, the cool night air hitting my face like a refreshing slap of reality. When I came back in, she was still half naked, clearly torn between fear and desire. "We need to get you out of here," I said, trying to be the voice of reason, but the chaos had taken over, and I felt my own resolve beginning to wane. Just then, I heard her phone ring, the screen flashing with a call from her husband.